Hey YouTube, Film Geek here. Today I'm talking about the 1988 film, Pulse.
What are you doing here? Spooky, ain't it? Did it talk to you? The voice in the wires. See?
Pulse was written and directed by Paul Golding, starring Cliff D. Young, Roxanne Hart, and Joey Lawrence. Pulse is a story about a son who comes to visit his father and stepmother, and then their house gets taken over by some kind of crazy electric pulse that can control everything in the home. Pulse was released in March of 1988, and it had a budget of just about $6 million. And unfortunately, this movie was a complete and total flop. Critics, however, did give this an above-average score of just 62%. And the weird thing is that the audience score is 30%. So this is one of those strange events where the critics were right and the audiences got this one wrong. Despite the low audience score, Pulse really is a great kid-friendly horror film. It focuses more on atmosphere and suspense and not so much on violence and gore. What are the things I like about this movie? Well, first off, they never explain where the pulse comes from or why it's doing what it's doing. The movie starts, there's a lightning bolt, and it just goes from there. I really like the fact that they never explain where this thing comes from, what it is, how it got to Earth, is it from Earth? I mean, it just doesn't tell you anything, and I really like keeping it ambiguous like that. I also like the use of audio in this movie. In order to kind of keep a creepy vibe going, they give this weird illusion about the electricity or the pulse inside the electricity or the house, how it's communicating with Joey Lawrence's character or something. There's just always this faint little voice or something that seems to come from the electricity itself. And in that, it really gives a real creepy vibe. Or it'll turn a TV on in a room and it's real quiet or something, and it just adds to the atmosphere of this film. So I really like the way they use audio to really convey where the monster is, really. I also like the fact that the effects in this movie still hold up today. Now, there's not a lot of special effects, but the ones that are there are really convincing. And they use a really cool little spark effect every now and then to kind of convey that the pulse is in the room or something, kind of trying to give it like a physical form. This wasn't Joey Lawrence's first movie. However, it is his first lead role he ever had in a movie, and he really is the star of the film. He's the main character, and he does a great job. A lot of kids his age couldn't have handled a lead role position such as this with his limited experience as he had at the time. But honestly, Joey does a great job, so kudos to you, Mr. Lawrence. And the last thing I'd like to add is this is a really good kid-friendly movie. There is a little violence, although it's light. There is some blood, but it's nothing more than you wouldn't see if somebody cut themselves real bad. There is one slightly gruesome scene in the movie where the stepmom is in the shower and she gets hit by really hot water and they show some blisters on her back. So depending upon your level of what you consider is gory, that might bother you, but all in all, this movie is a very solid film that you can sit down with a good 10-year-old at least and feel okay watching this movie with them. So in the end, this is a really great family horror film that I highly suggest that you watch on Halloween. You can currently find this streaming on all of your major rental services such as YouTube, Google Movies, Prime, you know the list. Okay guys, that brings us to the end of yet another Film Geek video. Thanks again for checking this one out. If you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe. Like the video if you enjoyed what you saw here today, and hit that bell for notifications so you know when I put up another one of these videos. And let's not forget one important thing, folks. Keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.